Hey y'all, I'm back with another review, and today we are discussing Apartment 214 by Meshamesh. This is my first book by Meshamesh, and I will preface by saying I will absolutely be reading more of Meshamesh's catalog after reading this damn book. I am not usually a thriller person, and even though technically I would say this is romance, I dare say it leans way more into urban fiction or thriller than it is romance. There is romance in it, which I guess is why it's in the urban romance category, but it is way more action, thriller, suspense, and figuring things out, in my opinion, than it is romancy. I understand why it's romance, because there definitely are callbacks or things that are referenced that have romantic feelings, and there is a male main character and a female main character that are in love with each other. But as the book goes on, you find out that things are not all as they seem. So let's get into it. All right, so this will have spoilers, and the reason why is because I have to talk about what happens in the end, because it truly blew my mind, especially as someone who is not a usual thriller reader. And maybe that's why it blew my mind so much, because I was not expecting it at all. And I buddy read this book, and two of the other people I buddy read it with did foresee it a little bit, or at least thought about it. I hadn't thought about it until it was mentioned to me, and it really took me through there, because I was really hoping that wasn't it, but it did. It did. And so here we go. Imagine Coco is the female main character, and she has lost all her memories because some incident has happened. She doesn't really know who she is. She doesn't really know what she has done or anything like that, but she's thrust back into life, which is one of the aspects of this book that I really like, because it was so realistic. I don't think people realize sometimes just how hard life can be, but also just how unfortunate it is that so many of our social services, or like our systems in place, don't actually hold space for folks that need a lot more care than they are given. Because to be honest, I was so hurt for Coco. I cried through this book. I cried especially a lot towards the latter half of the book. The last 20% of this book, I was bawling my eyes out so badly for her, for Buddha, for so many reasons. Just because it is so heartbreaking to know that things like this happen, whether it's because of loss of memory or because of other things, that there are too many people out here that all they need is a little help. All they need is some support, and they never get it, and they end up going over the edge, and what happens in the end happens for them, just because nobody cared about them enough. And arguably in this book, there are people that care about Coco, not a lot, but definitely Buddha's mother cares about Coco, and you find out just how much in the end. But still, by the end, it's a little too late to kind of find all of that out, because by the end, Coco is serving a really long jail bid. So that being said, Coco has started trying to get her life back. Buddha's mother is helping her a lot with that. She gets into this apartment 214, and she is just living there with the most barest of minimum. Okay, nothing, no furniture, no nothing. She's sleeping on the floor for most of the book, if we're being honest. And she's just trying to figure things out. She doesn't have a job. She has really horrible migraines. As someone who has migraines, the descriptions of migraines in this book, it made me feel seen. That's really all I can say. It made me feel seen, because I know that she had worse migraines than mine, because she had such horrible head trauma. But it is exactly how I feel when I have migraines. And to see that, and to know that, means I also know that Coco was going the fuck through it during this whole damn book. Because, like, to suffer without having her memories, and every time she gained a memory, it hurt her brain to try to remember who somebody was, to try to remember why she knew somebody, to try to remember what happened, to try to remember how something happened, to try to remember where something happened. It was so much. And Coco dealt with all of that mostly alone, until Buddha pops back up in her life. And he pops up first at the hospital, or I guess you could say like urgent care doctor appointment, while she's getting her over-the-counter prescriptions, because Buddha's mother had originally told her he is out of state doing a bid somewhere. He doesn't want to see you. He can't see you. because he's busy trying to figure shit out for the both of you. Because at this moment in the book, you don't know what happened, what was the incident that made her have this, that made her lose her memory and all this kind of stuff. So right now she just thinks that the love of her life, Buddha, doesn't love her no more and is somewhere else, but then he just shows up. And that causes her to be really upset, obviously, when he shows up, because she's like, why the hell are you here? You've never wanted to reach out. I've been struggling, but she has. So much time has passed. She's been struggling. She's been just figuring stuff out on her own, and then he just shows up. And he's like, you know, I'm here now. Like, I want to be here for you. And so he keeps showing up. He keeps basically invading her spaces, her home, going to the diner, all these different places. He's just like, look, I know you're mad, but I'm here now. And he remembers kind of some of the things that have happened, or she starts remembering things, and he's like, yeah, okay, he's egging her on, like, yeah, we got to figure out, and we have to find out who these people are. So she definitely goes on a spree and try to put all the pieces together. And while she tries to find and put all the pieces together, she ends up meeting her best friend, Gianni, at a party that is, like, this is before Buddha comes back in her life, technically, but she meets her again at a party that is thrown by, technically, I guess we should say, her neighbors. A neighbor that has a very important interaction in the beginning of the book. I won't spoil that, I guess. But she sees her there, and she's like, oh my goodness, like, we gotta hang out, and oh my God, we looked for you forever, da-da-da. And so Gianni comes back into her life, invites her to places, definitely invites her out. They do end up going out at some point in the book, and she ticks, Gianni ends up ticking Coco off. Coco is kind of a hothead, but not so much a hothead that she is, how should I put it? I feel like Coco is a hothead that is deserved. She has reasons. She's a reasonable hothead. That's what I should say. She's not just a crazy motherfucker. When she goes off on the people in the book, to me, it makes sense. Not only just because she has suffered so much head trauma, but just because some of the things that people say to her are either triggering or it rubs her the wrong way, and I can understand why. And so, as all of this crazy stuff is happening, Coco is just experiencing so much, okay? She's experiencing a love with Buddha that she hasn't felt in a while. She's slowly but surely gaining or giving him more trust, and which is what ends up breaking my heart in the end, because you find out that this entire time, that man was not there. That because of everything that happened, Coco kind of re-envisioned this man. He was a figment of her imagination. Because unfortunately, because of the incident that happened before she came out of her coma, Buddha did die. And that broke my heart. Because that was the only thing that she was hanging on to. And even in the end, it was the one thing that brought her joy. Even while being in jail. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know I'm a crybaby. So, but it's like, to know that she was going through so much and everybody else could see that she was going through so much. Even the people, like, nobody ever had the common courtesy, you know, to kind of tap her on her shoulder and say, hey, I see you talking to somebody. Nobody is there, sweetheart. Like, there's so many instances of that in this book that I feel like there could have been a call in, whether if it was from a friend or a random person. When I thought about bystander effect so much to this book, because, like, why are you just watching somebody kind of go through? And I know sometimes people will be like, well, you know, it's not my business, or yeah, you never know, that person could be crazy. But it's like, the amount of instances that she went through that experience where somebody could have stepped in, I 1000% believe it would have changed the trajectory of what ended up happening. While I don't think she was wrong for doing what she did, there were still consequences to her actions because of the legality of things. Even though the main antagonist, who is Gianni, okay, her best friend, her fake best friend, who is the person that set up Buddha and Coco before the coma. She is the reason why Buddha is dead. She is the reason why Coco lost all of her memories, just because she was a jealous person. I should say a jealous bitch. She was a horrible person. and she wanted her life. And it was wild to me to see, or to read rather, that before all that stuff happens, Buddha kind of mentioned that to Coco, and Coco's starting to feel like, dang, like you're right. Finally, after, because this is not the first time he has that conversation with her, which is what you kind of get the feeling of in the story. But Coco loved Gianni so much as a best friend. They had been together for so long, since kids and everything, and she loved her so much that for Gianni to turn around and feel like that Coco didn't deserve Buddha, she didn't deserve the life that she had. They were running the streets, they were making money, they was living large, and Gianni was just jealous of all of that, which is the whole reason why Rich, I'm gonna call him Richie Rich, he is also another antagonist, but he's a side antagonist, technically. He's important to the story a lot, but he is an antagonist, honestly, because Gianni makes him out to be. And Gianni set up so much shit in the past, before the coma and everything, that really showed how much she hated her own best friend, that it's just like... And then when she finds her, it's like she's really just playing this game. Now, granted, I did throughout the book feel like, geez, there was something up with Gianni. But did I think she was the one that did this shit? As we got closer to it, I was thinking like, what the hell, man? But I just would have never thought, especially because you are shown Rich as being one of the main antagonists. And there's other side characters that are in this story that have nice plot points, and stories within them, especially like Richie Rich's wife and daughter. So the story took me through there. Okay, this was a thriller for me that I never expected it coming. Okay, the way Buddha talked to Coco, even though he was a figment of her imagination, it was like she remembered this man, because when you get the flashbacks that are real, you see how he talked to her, and you see like, damn, this man really cared for this woman, and he died on top of her. And then they dragged him out that car like he was nothing, just because of jealousy. And for her to be thrust into all that, to have to remember all that, and to then have to kind of live with the realization that through everything that she just found out, because she's looking for Buddha after she ends up killing Gianni, which I think is deserved, like I kind of mentioned. She is just looking for Buddha. Like, to see somebody be that attached to somebody and know that that person not actually there. You talking about cut the cameras?
Cut the cameras. Dead end.
I was looking at my Kindle like, nah, there's no way. And until the bitter end, you see Coco, even after going to trial, and things in trial didn't go as well. I'm gonna leave those details out. I left a really important character out too. Tink Tink Tookie. I don't know why the fuck I said Tookie. Tink Tink. I'm gonna call him Tink Tink. He's a very important character just because of the relationships that he has with some of the other characters and his growth. But this book took me through there because it really pulled out my heartstrings. Because even if I don't know somebody that lost their whole memory, I do know plenty of people who all they needed was somebody to just step in. All they needed was somebody to just be like, hey, I got you, so that something else doesn't happen, or so that they don't go to jail, or so that they don't get pushed to the edge. Because everything that she went through is like, I understand. You know what I'm saying? I understand why she had a break. I understand why she couldn't take the shit. I understand why it led her to murdering. Because after you did all this shit to me, you gotta go. You know what I'm saying? And to see, like, she was just hanging on to Buddha. That was the only thing that was keeping her focused. And the last conversation she had with Buddha's mother before she left, when she came to come see her at the jail, oh my God, that made my heart break. Because she gave her some of his ashes and a locket with his face on it, just to remind her, and so that she had something to remember of him, because his mother knew how much he loved her, and she loved Coco like her own daughter. Because of it, they were supposed to get married all this other stuff. To think that all this stuff is just stopped just because of somebody else's jealousy. These are the type of things that you feel like, dang, death was not enough. Because she ends up taking a plea deal for doing a 20-year bid. And I felt like that was totally unfair. Totally unfair. But realistic, because the people that need the most help, especially since they knew that she had just got out of a coma and that she just lost all her memories, that she didn't have much of nothing, that they still sent her on a 20-year bid. They really just threw her away. And I know we see that often, especially in the prison industrial complex. So to see her be thrown away also made me cry. Because she didn't deserve that shit. Okay? It was so undeserved. They didn't even give her an option to do like a mental hospital or some type of rehabilitation center. It was just jail. After everything that she had been through, they just threw her ass away. Wanted to lock her up with a key. That hurt me. It was so hard to get through. But I loved how in the end, even though I don't think that she should have had, like, she took accountability for the things that she did because she murdered those people, yeah. Whether I think that they deserved it or not doesn't matter to a legal system, right? But she took accountability for what she did. And in the end, she knew that this was how she was going to live out the rest of her life. And that locket, holding on to Buddha, was what was going to keep her afloat. So, 5 stars. This took me through a ride, a whole journey, okay? Such a journey that I had to at Miss Meshamesh on Threads and be like, this is crazy, okay? Because it was a wild ride for me. And like I said, I don't usually read thriller and stuff like that, but this was a good thriller for me. It took me on an adventure, but it made me feel things still. And y'all know that I love to feel things through books, okay? That's why I love historical fiction so much. Because it makes you just hit you in your chest. Sometimes it's your heart. Sometimes it's your face. It was definitely my heart. Because Coco is a character I'm going to think about. I think Meshamesh did a wonderful job with building her character so well that it's not that you're attached to this character. Because that's not what it is. I'm not attached to this character. There are many things about this character that I'm sure you can say, okay, she's flawed in this way, da-da-da. I don't care. But she was a very good character. She was a very human character. A very understandable character. And this book was written from just her point of view, really, if we're being honest. Coco's point of view. And so Meshamesh did a wonderful job. I mean, I'm sure that if I read more thrillers and things like that, maybe there were some things that I could have caught on to earlier, but this was a ride that kept me wanting to read more. I didn't even expect to finish this book in a day. I was supposed to start it and then go do something else, and then I kept going because I loved it that much and I wanted to know more. I wanted to know what the fuck was going on. And I wanted to know what was going to happen to my girl Coco. I also wanted to know what happened to my girl Coco. And I was loving Buddha and her love story. Just to find out that Buddha dead. I mean, Meshamesh took that shit from me, okay? She grabbed my heart and took it right out. Because, damn. Such good writing. I gave this book, this is a 5-star book for me. I can't wait to read more of her works. I'm wondering if most of her works are thrillers. I can't wait to dive deeper and find out. Because I might like thrillers that have a mix of urban fiction and urban romance. Maybe that's my type of thriller instead of just thriller on its own, because I know I'm not just a thriller on its own type of person. I don't usually do thrillers. But with that said, next time.